March 28th, headed into work this morning, and thought I would share with you a little insight from God this morning that I got during my quiet time. This will be maybe for all the fishermen or the outdoor enthusiasts. I was fishing recently, and this morning asked God to take what had been going on a recent fishing outing and teach me something about it. And this is what I got this morning. So I'm just going to kind of ramble on a little bit here as I drive. No notes this morning. I did probably get 2 or 3 pages of notes in my journal, but for the sake of driving, I don't think I'll try to read those off to you and drive at the exact same time. So in my backyard is a river. I was down at the river a couple days ago with my grandson, and we threw out into the river a little minnow trap. They kind of swim in and they get stuck in there and catch whatever can swim in the hole in there. We threw that out a couple days ago. We had a big thing of bait in there that we had mixed up, breadcrumbs and whatever. So threw it out there, left it there for a day or two. And then 2 days ago, I went down to the river to fish, and going to check the minnow trap and see if there was any minnows in there that I could use for bait. So pulled it in, and it was absolutely slap full of minnows. Big ones, little ones. It was awesome. Tons of bait. So grabbed a nice big fat minnow, put it on a hook, and threw it out there. And a little bit later caught caught a nice fish. Where I fish, the river, the portion of the river that I am in, there aren't a lot of bass at all. In fact, I've lived here about 3 years and I've only caught one largemouth, period. And I fish a lot, so there's not a lot in there. But the fish that I caught, I guess it was 2 nights ago, was a nice big largemouth. An awesome fish in general, and then definitely an awesome fish for me where I fish. So absolutely ecstatic. It was getting late, caught that fish, and then walked back up to the house. It was getting dark. So last night went fishing again, expecting the same thing to happen because I figured it out. I cracked the code. I got the pattern. So went and grabbed the minnow trap. Well, pulled the minnow trap in, and there was nothing in it. No bait, and not a single minnow. None. So my high hopes for repeating my awesome fishing excursion were dashed. No bait. Pretty disappointing. So that's the backstory. So this morning when I'm sitting down, having some quiet time, that popped into my head. Just basically what I just shared with you. Was that the whole thing, kind of flashed in your head. Just 1 or 2 pictures, and I just took a minute or 2 to kind of explain it. And I said to God, hey, teach me something about that. You basically use that, and God being infinitely wise and creative can do that. You can ask Him to teach you something about whatever's going on in your day. I don't necessarily think that was God ordained set of circumstances. But I do know that He loves us and can teach us things through situations and circumstances and hobbies and all that stuff that we're interested in. So now I'm going to share a little bit with you what I think He taught me from, once again, without my notes, so I may kind of ramble on here for a minute. But there was 4 things in the physical that that came to mind with regards to that situation. And then I wrote those 4 things down. I'm about to tell you what those are. And then I said, all right, so what's the spiritual application side to that? Now, teach me, give me some wisdom, spiritual wisdom, that I can use this analogy, as a way to teach it. So number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and then I'll very briefly explain it. Number 1, you have to have a minnow trap. You have to have a minnow trap. If you don't have a minnow trap, you're not catching minnows. Number 2, you have to have some good bait in your minnow trap. If there's no bait in there to attract the minnows, it's extremely likely they're not going in there. Number 3, where you throw your minnow trap is important. The location is important. The second time I threw my trap out, it was a different spot. And I don't know what happened, but there were no fish in it that second time. And so one of those variables is where you place the location, where you put that trap. And lastly, I didn't mention this, but number 4, so the first night when I pulled the minnow trap in, there was about 20 minnows in it. And I mentioned to you, I grabbed a big one out, and I put him on a hook, and I threw him there, and I caught a fish. And then I was pretty much done. So let's say I used 2 minnows, and I had 18 left still in there. And I just left them in there. I mean, they get in there, they in theory can't get out, so they're stuck. So I threw that trap back in, threw it in a different spot, but I threw it back in the water with 18 minnows in it. So that next night, I assumed I'd have 18 minnows in it, and there was 0 in it. All 18 of them got out. So the 4th thing that I noticed, number 1, you got to have a trap. Number 2, you got to have bait. Number 3, the location is important. And number 4, after you catch minnows, which I did, caught 20 of them, you need to then relocate them, switch them to a different container, like a escape-proof minnow trap, or a minnow bucket. So that's number 4. You can't leave them in the trap. They'll get out. I didn't know they could, but I learned that the hard way. All 18 of them gone. So those are the 4 physical things that I thought about, or kind of was given, as I recounted in my head, the 2 days of fishing. One that was awesome and one that was terrible. Have a trap, have bait in it. That second night, there was 0 bait in the trap. So have a trap, have some bait, put it in a good spot, and then after you catch them, dump them out of your trap and put them in a minnow bucket that will keep them alive and prevent them from escaping. So that's what I got, wrote all those down, and then I'm like, all right, cool, that's, talking to God, that's cool, that's neat. Now, what's the teaching flip side of that? What's the spiritual side of it? Use that as an analogy or a metaphor and teach me something. And so this will be relatively brief. There's nothing earth-shattering in here, but this is more showing you for me, what it's kind of like to have a little bit of quiet time in the Lord and journal and some of the stuff that might come up. So it's more about that than, let's say, giving you some unbelievable spiritual dogma that's going to change your life. Anyway, so what I got from God with regards to those 4 physical bullet points because you got to have a trap. So what he said about that is the single word is purpose. You as a person, me as a person, we can get distracted doing an enormous amount of dumb stuff, garbage, busy work, or we can move and flow and operate and participate in things that are associated with what would be our purpose, our gifting. I don't know what that is. For you, you might be a grandma, and that might be, baking cookies and delivering them to people who are going through a rough time. Or you might be a banker, and you've got just a gift for money and finances. Maybe it's relationships. So anyway, I don't know what your purpose is, but your purpose is the trap. You need a trap. You need to figure out what your trap is, and you need to operate in your trap. We can spend an enormous amount of time wasting everything. Our phones are a perfect example of that. We can spend hours and hours and hours doom scrolling or binge watching, and it's just garbage, wasted time. Or we can be fruitful and use that time in a way that allows us to participate in and exercise our purpose. So that was number one. Number two was the one about bait. So these two kind of go hand in hand. If I'm in an environment where my purpose has the potential to be used, so let's say I'm in banking. Let's say I've got a mind and a heart and a gift for banking, and I'm in a bank, as opposed to something else. Now I need bait. So I need to listen to God and operate in a way that draws people into the gospel, into the good news, into my life. I need to operate with patience and kindness and joy. You want other people to be attracted to you for some reason. They're drawn to you. That's the bait. And that can be, you can be that bait and draw these people in, like the minnows are drawn into the trap to get the bait. You can draw people into you, into your life, into your sphere of influence by just the sweet aroma of God that's emanating out of you. That's two, the bait. Number three, the location. So if you're a trap and you have bait, you now need to be in a spot where there's minnows, obviously. And the spiritual side of that is, where are there hurting people? Where are there people in need? Where are there despondent people? And to some degree, yes, that can be the church. But the impression that I got from God was most of that really cool, awesome, good work is going to be done outside of the four church walls. I'm not suggesting that once you become a Christian and start going to church, all your problems go away. But what I am suggesting is there will be certain locations where you plant yourself as a trap and you have your bait out that are going to be much more fruitful because there's so many more minnows over there. We are to be fishers of men. And so go where the fish are. And that's not the church, generally speaking. That might be, who knows where, your workplace, the local homeless shelter, the mission field, Walmart, the grocery store. At this particular stage in your life, it might be your grandchild's house. Be a fisher of men, go where the minnows are. That will look different for different people. If you're an evangelist, maybe you're out on the street preaching to hundreds of people per day. If you're not gifted or called to be an evangelist, your spiritual gifting is different. Maybe it's nurturing. Well, maybe at the specific time in your life, you've got a very small little group of fish. You're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grandkids that you're ministering to and working with and helping to grow and foster and raise. So that will look different for different people. Don't try to latch onto or be somebody else. And number 4, let's see, we had the trap, we had the bait, we had the location. Oh yeah, and then the transfer. So nothing crazy here, but as a mature Christian, you need to understand that catching a minnow is different than keeping a minnow. And what God showed me is, getting somebody to accept Jesus into their heart is different than discipling them. So there's the punchline. There needs to be a shift and a switch to discipleship, and it is different. Now that may or may not be something that you are called to do. If you're an evangelist, you're probably not the person who's going to disciple. You may be the discipler and not the evangelist. They're not the same. The minnow trap is not the minnow bucket. They don't look the same, they don't act the same, they don't cost the same, they don't function the same. So, evangelism is not the same as discipleship. And so it's just a general awareness that it's okay for you to operate as you're intended to and gifted to operate in. And just be aware of that. So, you might or might not be the person to do the discipling for whatever minnow is caught in that trap. And just be aware of the dynamic and be aware that you need to operate within your purpose and your giftings, and that's not going to be, you're not going to be able to service properly everybody. That's not how this was intended. That's one of the benefits of going to a church, is that in theory, if you've got hundreds or thousands of people operating and flowing in their different giftings and being spirit-led, there will be different people around who can help facilitate both catching the minnows and then discipling the minnows. So that's all I got for you this morning. Again, nothing earth-shattering there. Maybe more so what I hope is just to encourage you guys to journal, to spend quiet time. All of that unfolded in about a 45-minute quiet time this morning, where I sat there with my journal, sipping on a cup of coffee, and these thoughts kind of begin to pop in my head, and then I begin having this dialogue, like, hey God, that was something that happened in my life. Now teach me about it. And then have some faith and start writing down and see where it goes. You will begin to get better at doing that. As you begin to kind of flow and flow and flow in those conversations with the Holy Spirit. So that's all I got for you. Until next time.